all the great innovation that's happening in Ukraine in these extreme conditions, and just excited to share what we're doing with your community, and just hats off to Reply, for continuing and keeping things going with your product, which is just going from strength to strength.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate the kind words and the support. I did not put my last name in here, but my last name is Jurasenko. So if I have that, we would both have like very similar names, but yeah, similar, same roots. But anyway, happy to start, I guess, our topic. And glad that Alex has come here today, and we're really going to talk about how to drive lead engagement and how to drive conversions, and really maybe a new way that we as Reply haven't talked about before at our events, and how interactive content really can be applied. And that's why we have Alex as an expert here on this. As a sales engagement platform, Reply, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the product. We're all about cold outreach automation, how to optimize that, how AI can be used in the process, how multiple channels can be used. So we kind of always try to give you the best insights and what are the updates in the industry and the new tools that you can use. And that's why we're really want to talk about the interactive content. And that's why we have Alex here today to share really their experience on the matter.
Great. Well, very flattered. Very flattered. I think instead of just talking about it, I think we'll share a lot of what it looks like, because the point of the interactive content is actually to experience it so you could see for yourself. We've done a couple things. We'll share this whole webinar slide. We'll run it briefly as an lightweight interactive experience. It was created in Google Slides, probably a tool all of you are familiar with, but we'll share it as a kind of interactive site. And it's going to be in a hub with some examples of one-pagers and other tools that SDRs use to engage their audience. And so we could, make this both intellectual and sub-level, and as well as interactive. So without further ado, would it be okay if I just show a few of those slides and start setting the scene? Alex, are we ready?
Yes, go ahead. You can go ahead and start sharing your screen. I'll just quickly say that everyone feel free to type in your questions in the chat as we go. I'll keep an eye on those. We'll try to answer them right away. If not, we'll save up a few minutes at the end, and then we'll discuss them then.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Great. Well, look, we are looking at a URL here, and this happens to be the kind of the hub and the document that we prepared for today. And I hope Alex and Reply team will share that with you. So that you don't have to try to read every slide. We'll kind of skim over some of them and focus more on the conversation. But the fundamental idea here is that what happens once you've used Reply to get, pick the right channel, craft a personalized message for that channel, and then how do you engage them, right? Like, because there's a lot of competition for attention. And so one of the ways that we've been advocating at Relay to is that you can create marketing grade experiences for deeply personalized and relevant sales content, right? Taking the best of what marketers do and then putting that in the power of the hands. And this is an example of a marketer that's a customer of ours, Nicole, who is marketer at one of the best marketing groups, right? But she's very much focused on enabling the sales team, and this is kind of her motivation for trying something different. And I note that this is somebody that has the tools. They know how to build websites. They're kind of they have all the toolkit that a marketer have, but still, when it comes to selling, they end up taking out PowerPoints and keynotes and saving them as a PDF and sending them either as one-pagers or larger decks. And that was not standing out to the opportunity size. And obviously, any organizations that has sales development teams, has to tackle relatively large ticket sizes in terms of the opportunities. So this is probably relevant to all of you. And so, what is the problem with the PDF? Well, you could look at these on your own, whether you believe all of them or not, doesn't matter. But in essence, PDF is actually a a format that has been in existence since before the World Wide Web, right? So we're talking about a 30-year format designed for printing that doesn't really measure real engagement and doesn't create an opportunity to engage for your audience. So whether it's a one-pager or even an infographic that lacks a call to action that's clear and obvious of what you can do right away, or something else, like a longer case study, it has a number of these issues. If any of them, resonate, feel free to kind of shout out and raise your hand. But even if you end up saying, oh, okay, I put my PDF on a link of some kind, well, you still have fundamental engagement issues because it's still same old PDF, just happens to be on a link or in a kind of old-fashioned flipbook. And while we're sending that out at sales teams and go-to-market teams, we actually increasingly the data emerged that the more sophisticated marketers has figured out that this is not working anymore, right? And that in fact the top performers understand that contact points before the meeting was an account exec, or if you're having a discovery call, a lot of the work in the customer's mind, a lot of the frame setting has happened before. It could be through that outreach materials that you're sending. It could be through materials that you get your supporters to send. But fundamentally, people may have a bias before they meet with you, and it's up to us as revenue generating teams to increase our odds that those meetings go well. And we think transforming the content experience and making it feel like a persuasive conversation is the way to go. And more importantly, pretty much everybody, kind of thought leaders, they support it. And so we've, these are some metrics that, back up our claims from our customers and experience. So we're not gonna go and, say we're amazing, but the point is this is not a day one product that sort of just popped on the market. We've been, experimenting and testing this with organizations that are very rigorous and have best in class, marketing and sales capabilities, and they're still finding that this is valuable. So what is valuable? Well, I'll just highlight a couple of the features. So you notice, by the way, we're just moving across on this presentation. And imagine like you wanted to jump and you kind of get to specific, like, oh, I'm interested in customer journeys, or I want to kind of see what's the impact for sellers for this. So you could navigate not just linearly, you could jump around to specific sections of your presentation. And that's one of the capabilities here. But fundamentally, you could create immersive links that drive call to action conversion. You could, in the case of SDR, that's booking a meeting, right? Like, and that's really fundamental opportunity to just, people, while they're looking at the content, they go and book a meeting right inside that experience, whether you're using Reply or any other platform for that. That's kind of, I think, a huge add-on. You could do this really quickly. You can embed videos to make experience more emotional. You can embed case studies. So kind of a one-pager could actually be almost a Trojan horse, where it looks like it's a one-pager, but there's substance behind it, and it actually has like 50 pages of relevant case studies underneath it. And if you click as a buyer on the study that you care about, you immediately, get a lot of value and sort of build your connection, right? So that is a kind of buyer-directed experience. And then on the back end, this is why, what's addictive to sales team in particular is that you could actually start seeing what works and what doesn't at a very granular level. You could look at a page, and this is like this is an example of a page that I'll show you in a second, and you could see who looks at what page. And then on that page, do they click on the case study A or case study B, or do they hover over a quote C, right, to learn more? And that's really insightful information. It allows you to improve the content, but ultimately actually improve the conversation that's happening immediately. So that's a sort of example where, right now we're focusing a lot on sales and, one pagers and leave behind, and, we've top of the funnel marketing content. But fundamentally, I think what we like to introduce as a notion is that you need to create buyer experiences across the journey. It could be very top of the funnel, and you don't, they may not lead to something immediate right now, but the experience will matter. So that's sort of a marketing play. It could be obviously, in driving immediate sales opportunities, but it could be driving upsell and cross sell and your referrals, for folks further in the journey. So I think we're just making customers more successful once they do sign up to your product or service. So I think for us, fundamentally, while we think that probably the biggest value intersection that we've been seeing is that this sort of where marketing meets sales, you could use examples of what we're talking about throughout the journey. We'll focus today on the one pagers, since that may be relevant to you. Really quickly, again, like the evidence behind this is like a little bit about us, but fundamentally the biggest winners in this is actually the customers. So the people that are creating these interactive experiences, they're getting recognized in the market. They're getting digital awards. They're getting recognized that they're delivering, educational experiences for their customers. So that's Brendan Hall Awards. It's like the educational solution. If you're trying to enable your sales organizations, go-to-market organizations, could be enablement. So these are sort of some of the recognition that the platform has built, but more importantly, the customers. And then the market, probably, I know Reply is the leader in G2, and probably a lot of your companies are kind of in sort of software ecosystem. And so this is, again, to highlight how broadly this could be adopted. So you could start with a one pager, but it could end up being used for proposals or for in-depth onboarding materials to make sure the customers are successful and renew and expand the opportunity, or even presentations. So that's the end of the pitch, so to speak. You could, one of the interesting things is like there's a freebie here. You could create up to 5 of these experiences for free if you want to check out Relate to. So that's sort of, this is concrete. And you could book a meeting, and that's what I was talking about, a widget. If, for example, you're really kind of excited about following up and want to book a meeting with me or somebody on my team, you could just go directly and book a meeting, and we'll kind of answer any questions that you may have. So I'll pause here. That's the end of the presentation. I have the sort of the one pager that I wanted to share with you, but I want to leave it here to Alex, and if there are any questions already, so that we get this to be more interactive.
Yes, perfect. Thank you. I really love the idea of how kind of you are able to create a journey, and as far as I understood, right, this is like a custom journey for everyone. So based on who you are selling to, if you're targeting, I don't know, specific personas in the industry, then you can really change, right, what they're going to see as they get this. It's not a presentation. What's the right word?
Well,
one pager, not one pager, right?
Yeah, it's sort of like, as you've seen, it's a very broad set of experiences that customers can access. So we call them content experiences. Some people call them sites. Some people call them microsites. Some call them interactive presentations. But in the purposes of SDR community, I like the idea of you calling it a one pager, because a one pager is not intimidating, right? Presentation, you never know. Pitch feels pitchy, but a one pager is something that feels like, okay, like a CEO has time for a one pager, right? Like, you want to get a proposal on one page. And so we believe that's really powerful. So I wanted to actually show, so we put together, this is like this document, this sits in a hub, and this hub has actually a couple examples. So this is our one pager, just show this really quickly. And you can imagine this could be personalized by industry, by persona, down to individual customer if you're doing ABM style campaigns. And this one pager has a video embedded immersively. So if people are visual learners, they could go through and see it. You could make these case studies link to specific areas. This is our platform. We didn't get into it because I don't want you to think, we're pitching it, but if people are interested in the platform, if your audience is technical, they could see, oh, okay, so it's no code SaaS. It allows me to, take my PDFs and presentations and turn them into these cool one pagers, get the metrics. And if I want to drill in and understand how can I enrich it, I could just click on a specific page and get to, okay, well, this is how you enrich this. I could have interactivity, templates, etc. And I could kind of navigate around this richer journey, but I can close it and I'm back in the same place. So you notice I didn't leave when I clicked on the video, I didn't leave. And so that's sort of the idea of a one pager. Same was the case study. If I'm really into what Salesforce does, I could just click in and see immediately Salesforce case study right here. That's also powered by Relay2, all embedded inside here. So you kind of have these little Easter eggs throughout that people, if they want to, they click on. They're not forced. We're not forcing them to do any of this. And then you could draw attention, right? You've seen those slides, the our G2 ratings. That's pretty important to us. We're pretty proud that our customers like us because that's more important than our pitching. So we drew attention to it. It was animated. So people are like, oh, wow, that's pretty cool. And then again, you could see, let's talk, right? Like we're using that same widget here in this one pager. So that's what I mean. That's probably the main use case that we advocate. And then you could obviously adapt it at scale and start seeing, how it works in various instances for various industries, for various personas.
Another, I think, quick question, because I love the part where I already kind of have these ideas how they can be used, where you show, for example, the experience specific for Salesforce users, right? And this is what we talk about often, that like we try to collect intent data, technographics data when we set up our outreach campaigns, just to make sure that we target people who it's relevant for, people who we properly integrate with, or, right, that use the tag that we properly integrate with. So here, I think this is also where you can customize it based on your technographics verticals and then have these one-pagers, like interactive one-pagers. There you go. That's the right term for it, I think. This is where you can have these interactive one-pagers really kind of stand out based on the use case, or maybe not being like super obvious about it, but then they see exactly what suits them, right? Suits their use case. Another thing I think that I like about it is that you mentioned that there is a video kind of aspect to it. Is there a way maybe kind of make it more personal when it comes to that video that they open? Maybe that could be, I guess, maybe recorded from myself or something, or from somebody at the company, or something that I can scale maybe as well as I'm sharing this with my audience.
Yeah, great question. I think so. So basically, these are templates, right? And you could drag and drop into template whatever you want. So if you have, whether you're using reply video solutions or Vidyard, or you have a YouTube that's unlisted YouTube that's recorded from your senior executives for, one per each industry, you just drop it into that one pager, and all of a sudden you have a kind of a perception of personalization because the one pager may have the company name on it, for example. But in reality, there was not a lot of work. It's just one person recorded, one extra word or a couple other extra topics around that. So that's sort of what we're trying to do, is minimize the amount of work for the team to create maximum perception of uniqueness and relevance. And then the immersive video is just a great example. Typically, we've seen that our most successful customers in the sort of digital sales rooms and in the kind of personalized, jump starters, they do use video from either senior executives. We don't see as much. It's less of a look at me, I wrote to you a personal video. People kind of started to see through that, in our experience. So we are a little bit more robust experience where for things that require substance versus just interrupting somebody. So I think our videos tend to be more along those lines. And what's interesting is you could still say, hey, I've created a personalized video and microsite for you. And when you share that, you could have a kind of a photo of a video or a thumbnail of a video, and I could show you how that looks in a second if that's interesting.
Yeah.
But that could actually get people to stop and say, wow, they created something for me. It's moving. It's not it's not PDF from 1990s that they just tried to put in my LinkedIn or something like that, right? It sort of interrupts the usual expectations. And I think that's the way to get people to pay attention and act.
Yeah, I have a few. Yeah, you're looking up the questions.
I'm looking at the questions. Yes, really quickly. Can it be in your domain? Absolutely. So we started at a mix of marketers and sales, and as you can imagine, marketers love things in their domain, things that drive SEO for them. So absolutely, that's possible. Some of our interestingly, we found that some very advanced customers use domains in some cases, in other cases, they're very happy with our branding because it's sort of ours is about creating premium experience for buyers. That's always positions you well because you care about your buyers, but either way, it's possible. And then second question, do the relate to pages expire after a time period? You can make them expirable. You have full control of this. Unlike a PDF, once you send it, it's sort of gone, whether it has typos or outdated branding or, you know, a proposal pricing that's no longer relevant. In this case, this is always up to date. You just can, you know, update it. If it's out of date, you can remove access to certain things. And, you know, it's really fully controllable. You could also obviously control it by individual. So you could request something that, you know, is no longer accessible to broad public, you know, requires you to provision, you know, access to something. So you're in full control even after you hit send.
Mhm. I also maybe have a bit of a follow-up question on this, because if, as you were saying, you can kind of customize it, how long kind of the link is there and things like that. And that brings me more to the tracking. I know you mentioned already briefly that it's possible to track these things, but I mean, we really kind of, for example, in kind of a more simple case, right? Sending emails, getting them opened, click, maybe just clicking the links. We can use those as triggers to for certain types of follow-ups, for certain types of actions. And then, I mean, here we have so many different elements, right? In this, I guess, like experience that they go through, or in the microsite that they go through. So we're, as far as I understand, we are able to track the different elements and then also maybe use them as triggers for specific follow-ups.
Yeah, I
Afterwards.
mean, I think you can you have all the analytical superpowers you want. I think the practical matter is, you know, you don't want to create some sort of analytics monster that even marketers can't figure out how to use. So what a sales team like, and the sales team typically like, you know, this person has access to your site, right? And that notification is already like a huge win because it's sort of, you know, you could
Yeah.
write some sort of a, you know, tool, you know, even Zappy or whatever, something lightweight to kind of start doing some things on that basis. But yeah, you could certainly do that, and then, you know, drill into the data on individual level, aggregate level to make, you know, broader determinations. We have not found that like you want to know everything every moment, you know, in real time, delivered via email, you know, to, you know, what's happening there. You could just look up that data when you have
Mhm.
time to engage right before the meeting, for example, and go right inside the platform to look at that. So I think
Mhm.
that's our advice. But you're absolutely right. Like, one of the things we noticed is it's, you have, you know, some people prefer to have notifications via email, typically in the sales context, and then you immediately know, okay, this person is engaged, right? Let's sort of, while they're hot and, you know, paying attention, let's kind of follow up in a meaningful way.
Or maybe also see if you're targeting different kinds of personas, maybe see what kind of content they're attracted more to. For example, what they view more, what they click on more rather than others.
That's very interesting. Yeah, I think that's you know, this second layer of sophistication, but absolutely, like, if you're, you know, particularly oftentimes in your roles, right, you're trying to figure out, is this ICP working? Is this not working? And I think this is very, very, you know, smart indicator of real engagement. You know, because I think you could certainly start seeing lagging indicators, right? But like, I think
Mhm.
that to us is very interesting. In particular, like, some of the analytics we could dig into if you want, but it could be, you know, are people using navigation? So if they're using navigation, it kind of means that, you know, you've created a comprehensive experience, and they're kind of, you know, using, you know, picking their own adventures, and that's great. It means they're getting to the information that they care about, and so you want to continue doing that in your documents, right? Or, you know, if they're not, and you know, and then it means that you need to kind of probably simplify the message, because they just want to kind of get to kind of quick, you know, 2-3 pages of content and move on.
Mhm. Since we
Other
have kind of
questions?
the last, I don't think we have any
5 minutes.
questions here yet. Yeah, we have 5 minutes. I really wanted to kind of show how does this appear to the user, right? If I'm on the receiving end, how am I going to
Yeah,
see this, right?
yeah.
What's gonna kind of
Do
drive
the
me to actually click on it, and how it can be shared as well. For example, if we're doing email and then LinkedIn as well, so can we
yeah.
share it via multiple channels and then Yeah,
Well, you can see
see
here,
how that works.
I have a share button. This is me. I'm like an editor interface, and I could include this in a hub that you've seen. I have, I can even embed it on my website. I could, let's say I drop it in an email, this particular one pager. So I copied it. I'm going to go in my email. I'm going to create a new email here, and I'm just really going to just paste it. I assume that I'm already using reply to write an amazing personalized message. This is this link that we've been looking at, right? And it could link to even specific page inside this sort of mini one pager, right? And it's done. Like it's interactive already. It's moving. You can see people are like, oh, this is interesting, right? And imagine you have a photo of the CEO or the logo of the company inside something like this. So this sort of opens up the doors. Another way to do this, obviously, is LinkedIn. So Alex, I think I do have you here on LinkedIn. So I could actually, we were doing this a little bit earlier, but hello, Alex, here's our one pager, right? So you guys probably have all done some kind of PDF here. Here, I'm just dropping this link, and it would basically takes a few minutes to kind of process the thumbnail and the link site, but then something like this shows up fundamentally, right after that. And sometimes LinkedIn doesn't want you to render the same things twice. So here it's not the best. There you go. But it's sort of, you could see it just immediately transformed it already, this last message. And now it sort of appears here. And so you're probably the first person that sent somebody a LinkedIn direct message that has something moving inside it, and that's fundamentally kind of
And
a
that's
way
not
to
a
engage it.
video, right?
It's not a
Sorry.
video because no,
Yeah.
LinkedIn doesn't allow you to play videos right now, right? So this is the summary of what's inside, but it could be, you could record a video and take a small GIF of it and sort of load that into the thumbnail. You could control what they see here. This is a controllable experience. So you could get your marketing or designers to put together something awesome, and then but this title could be personalized. So this could be prepared for John, and like you're
Yeah.
kind of combining something that looks very high end with something that's really easy for you to execute. So, and then you would be notified if I have to put in my name. Like you could write a personalized message that shows up on top of that one page here, and then immediately, if people click on it or if they put in their email to see it, if it's something that you're doing as a broad outreach campaign, you now know, if it's generic one, that you have their email. If it's already personalized, you just go to that person's document and you see their engagement.
Yeah, because why I was asking, because it's really a challenge now to get people, first of all, to open their emails, right? But then once they open it, to get them to actually engage with what you're sending. So if like the thumbnail can be personalized, right? The link is personalized to their, I don't know, whatever is relevant to them, their company name, maybe their first name, anything about them that's going to stand out. So there are really ways that we can prompt them to click on it, right? So it's not going to be generic, it's going to be personalized, and that's another extra chance for you to deliver your value.
Exactly. You're sort of trying to do really fundamentally three things. You're trying to grab somebody's attention with this interactive content, right? And that's a unique opportunity because that is not a widespread tool right now in the SDR hands right yet. Number two is once they're in it, you actually want to engage them, right? You want them to spend more time in it. You want them to get to the parts they care about, click on the studies they care about, like a conversation, right? You'll have only that many seconds to engage somebody. So you engage it, you kind of create a branded perception that you're a sophisticated organization, that you care. And maybe it's mass personalized, maybe it's just a personalized journey because they're picking what they care about. They're not being forced to listen to a monologue. And then the last piece is this conversion, right? And we talked about booking a meeting right when you're in there, right? Because what are the odds that you're kind of at this, PDF, and then you're going to come back to your email, find book a link with me, link that you have there. I mean, you guys know the odds are pretty hard on this, right? Like, so it's sort of a way to engage, and while they're engaged, while they just watched this video, while they just believed that read a case study that was relevant to them, that's when you book the meeting. And that's a quality meeting. That's a meeting that somebody has already knows quite a bit about you, and maybe they've gone on and pursued other content inside the experience, the hub, right? Like, and we didn't get into the hub, but that was fundamentally, you could imagine you could have more or less your entire, persona library, right, that you're selling in that industry, right? Like that could be in there. So if you by accident hit the wrong, the wrong persona, but still the right industry, they could self-select into the, case studies and pain points that they care about. And that's really important way to self-correct, your initial assumptions in outreach.
Amazing, amazing. First of all, the thing that I kind of caught my attention from the summary that you were saying is that not many people are using it. So definitely, if you would be the one leveraging this, this is something that's going to help you stand out, right? Because this kind of experience is not as common as maybe even video has gotten these days. So that's at
Correct.
least one of the reasons to definitely get into this. Okay, and since we're out of time, what are the next steps, Alex? Are there ways to try this? Do you offer some kind of free trial or anything like that? How can our audience maybe get a bit more about it?
Let's go back to this one pager, or so you could, we'll share this link. Should we drop it in the Zoom so the audience can see it?
We can share it in the email where we'll share the replay link, and we'll add it there. Okay.
Yeah, and so you could, inside there's a page that kind of allows you to either, and it's sort of like the one that we're looking at here, right? You could go and try the free trial. You could have 5 of your assets for free. So, like just put something up, give it a go. Give it to your, marketer or designer that's supporting you or supposed to support you with something, and see what they can do with this. You could book a meeting with us, and that's sort of the point, that you can do the same thing with us that we'd recommend that you do with your clients. And then this is that room, and that's the presentation that we've seen. And you notice here, I could kind of just go to try it button at the very end and book the same meeting with me. So whether it's a presentation or a one pager, the idea here is if you're interested, don't wait for somebody to do this. This is easy. Drag and drop your current one pager. It will make the links that you have in it already work. And, if you want to build something more designed for Relate to, we're happy to guide you through that process.
Awesome. Well,
thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I think that was really kind of new content for me personally, definitely. And that's definitely an interesting new way to share the value to the prospect, and also to be able to kind of see how that's working, track everything that you're doing, and at the same way, stay personalized, stay relevant, and do it in the really optimal way. I love the idea of like having a CTA right here to talk, to start a trial, to book a meeting, right? You get them where they're interested in you. So I definitely would recommend everyone to please give it a try, see how that works. And happy selling. Everyone, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you for your time.
Take care.